Hello! In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the largest piece of digital art I've ever made. I share this with you today because last year, on this exact same day, Dead by Daylight's 28th DLC chapter came out. Happy Pride! I know for many players, End Transmission marked the beginning of a particularly frustrating survivor build meta. Fortunately, the Singularity struggled a bit less with the since nerfed made for this. I am a killer main, so I played a lot of Singularity at that time, and continued to play him more than any other killer. He became my most rapidly prestiged killer, and even took the place of Ghostface as my main. It felt like I had finally found a killer whose playstyle was the perfect fit for me. Currently, his prestige level is at 68, as I am working to simultaneously P100 him, Ghostface, and Steve. Singularity has become the focus of many of my artworks, including some rather ambitious pieces. Last July, I began working on one such piece, a massive tribute to Sci-fi's big debut in Dead by Daylight, and to Hux, who to me is the harvested human heart of it all. When planning out this piece, I aimed to blend DBD's take on sci-fi with the style of old sci-fi art, as the rich, dreamlike color palettes, fantastical outfits, and dynamic poses of these works are also a source of inspiration to me. Many outfits featured in this piece come directly from the game, such as Claudette's Space Botanist cosmetic, Gabriel's Pioneer Uniform cosmetic, and Hattie's Abandoned Technology cosmetic. Other characters sport modified versions of in-game cosmetics, such as Hinatu and Talita, or the Doctor and Trickster. These alterations were made so the outfits better fit the more simplistic, sleek, and often revealing style typical of retro sci-fi art. Certain characters, like Elodie and Hux, started with one outfit and ended with something entirely different. Hux, I felt a smoother look would suit the tone of my piece better. For Elodie, I designed an entirely original outfit, even though I felt that the style of the Visionary Performer cosmetic was better suited to her than to Kate. I had already designed outfits for many other characters in the piece, so it wasn't much trouble to design one more. You might see now that while I put plenty of work into this first rough sketch, a lot would still change as I continued to work on the project. The next step involved refining that rough sketch into something I could actually make line art from. Already in this draft, you can see some changes that I mentioned earlier. Elodie and Hux's appearances are updated. I added Yunjin and moved Sadako further up. The biggest update from the rough sketch, however, is obviously the addition of Ellen Ripley and the Xenomorph, whose chapter followed End Transmission. Although I did want to limit the number of licensed characters included to mostly my favorites, I couldn't exactly have a sci-fi themed DBD piece without some of the genre's biggest names, now could I? By September, the line art creation process had begun. Producing the line art was an incredible test of patience, and come October, it would be completed. There were only a few changes made at this stage. I simplified the knight's sword, and fixed the anatomical issues with Huntress's pose. I also gave her helmet some feathers, as the back looked a bit empty. Changing the position of Huntress's arm meant that some of Trapper's legs were now visible, so I drew them in. I redrew Steve's face to more accurately reflect the angle at which his head is turned, and I turned Sadako's hand toward the viewer. The next step was to block out each character, or duo of touching characters, in a single solid color, so that I could keep all the relevant coloring layers limited to just that one area of the canvas. I would then go through and lay base colors down for each individual character using mask/clipping layers, whatever you'd like to call them, to ensure the color appeared only over top those solid colors I blocked out earlier. One important thing you're going to notice as you watch everyone's base colors appear is that I changed the color palettes of certain outfits. I did this to more clearly divide the characters into two opposing teams and to better emphasize the alternating pattern of survivors and killers that zigzags up the piece. All survivors' outfits were changed to be blue or green, while killers were kept to red, pink, yellow, and orange. There are 3 exceptions to this rule. The first, Yui, is to reflect the lore I imagined for the cosmetic I designed for her. You see, many of the killers have cybernetic parts, while Yui is the only survivor to clearly be some kind of cyborg. By keeping her outfit mostly white, like that of Claudette and Elodie, but still using pink, I hope to communicate that she was a soldier that defected from the Skull Merchant's side, who instead chose to ally herself with the survivors. The second exception is Steve and my Ghostface OC, Lucy. All you need to know about Lucy here is that he was a character born from my unique playstyle that involves never attacking Steve's. I asked myself how that situation might play out seriously, and became endlessly fascinated with the dynamic between someone who'd do anything to save his friends and someone who would render that penchant for self-sacrifice pointless. So instead of reworking the color palette of Steve's outfit, I kept the Scoops Ahoy colors, specifically because the red scarf functions as a good metaphor for Lucy's obsession with him. Finally, there's Gabriel, who isn't exactly wearing red, but he holds the EMP, which bathes him in its light, along with the scars littered across his skin. This intends to portray Gabriel as defiant and heroic. He isn't afraid to use something associated with a killer. He's going to stop Hux and the Skull Merchant and save the damn day. After that first round of coloring came the daunting task of going through each character's folder and shading what I had done. I will only showcase a few characters here since the process is the same for all of them. I follow a similar coloring process in many of my busier pieces, as I find that breaking the image down into chunks makes rectifying mistakes easier, while the layer modes help unify the colors of the entire piece. The second last step is adding extra effects over top the line art. Doing this makes the neon colors of the light softer and more dreamlike. Drawing clear or translucent fluids like saliva over top the line art makes the coated object look slimier, which is a great technique to employ for art of monster type characters like Hux. As the line art for this piece is all done on one layer, any highlight outlines had to be done on a layer over top the line art layer. One of the most important things to do when trying to create this soft lighting effect is to use a luminosity layer. The luminosity layer at low opacity lightens the image slightly so that it appears hazy. Finally, I add an overlaid layer of noise, an overlaid layer of pixelated halftone, and a color density glow layer of pixelated halftone. All of these layers placed over top a luminosity layer is what gives the image this printed look. There is a link in the description to the pixel halftone brushes I use if you'd like to try the technique out for yourself. And there you have it, my sci-fi themed DVD piece to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the End Transmission chapter, and the biggest piece of digital art I have ever made. Thank you for watching. I hope this video gave ample insight into my creative process, as well as demonstrated how much this project meant to me. To close the video, please enjoy this short montage of all 23 characters featured in the piece, and have a lovely Twisted Masquerade.